Hi, how's it going, everyone? Stellar Blade demo for PC came out yesterday, and I thought to myself, let's see if it works on Linux. Spoiler alert, it does. Anyway, there's a couple of things I kind of want to. Well, first of all, I did end up expanding the overlay a little bit just because I want to see. Actually, this does already give me a bit of an indication on how much. Well, actually, no, this still is the fucking the settings menu. It's not really gonna tell us a whole ton. Um, so there's a couple of things I want to note. First of all, um, this game, and now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of the recent games that I've been playing recently, well, maybe not necessarily recently. I'd say for the past 2, 3 years, pretty much ever since FSR 3 came out. Usually, like for example, I'm thinking of the Yakuza games. They would usually give me an option to pick between FSR 1, 2, and 3. This game, on the other hand, just gives me the option for FSR 3. Now, that's not. Well, maybe it would be nice to have an option for the FSR 1, just because FSR 1 is a different type of upscaler. I think how do they call it? It's like spatial upscaler, something like that. Meanwhile, FSR 2 and 3, they're more so temporal upscaling, and so um, even if the image reconstruction is definitely worse than FSR 1, maybe for one reason or another, uh, for certain games or certain settings, you may want to prefer that one. But I don't know. I guess it would also depend on the resolution, because I remember FSR 1 whenever I would upscale whenever I would target 4K, and I would, let's say for example well, I guess that was more so with RSR, with the Radeon Super Resolution, the one that's just kind of built in, where you pick a certain resolution and then you add a certain launch commands to Steam to actually activate RSR, and it would actually upscale to the resolution of the monitor. And that one's not that one's definitely the inferior version of FSR 1, but usually if you were targeting 4K and you already had a pretty high resolution, then it was kind of doable. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling about fucking FSR 1. Who cares at this point? Now, here it says AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution 3. I assume this is FSR 3, but I don't know. Uh, I honestly don't know. I tried looking at some of the game files, which, by the way, I'll get into the game files in a second to see if maybe maybe there's like a mention of the version, but like nah, it's just generic names. I don't know if this is FSR 3.1 or the 3.01, and it's kind of important to me mainly because honestly, just because of FSR 4, the fact that with FSR 4 you can take FSR 3.1 games and actually, override it to use FSR 4. Now, the thing is, I can actually show you the game files. So it does have the DLL file right here. And I do actually have a updated DLL that has the latest version of FSR 3.1. So a part of me does wonder if I just replace it, will it work? I'll try it a little time, but I'm pretty sure, or at the very least, I hope the answer is yes. Because, yeah, I'm very curious to know. Because I don't have RDNA 4, but if I ever get that card, I definitely do want to experiment with FSR 4. And so if I'm able to get FSR 3, I mean, to be honest, I'm saying all of that, but like technically speaking, I can also use the Optiscaler to replace DLSS with FSR 3.1. So maybe I'm just kind of freaking out over nothing, but it was just kind of a thought I had. Now, something else I thought was kind of interesting. It's the anti-aliasing options, because it only has temporal anti-aliasing, and I mean that in every sense of the imagination. Like, because for example, if you pick FSR 3, the anti-aliasing would be locked to FSR 3, and FSR 3 does actually use temporal anti-aliasing. So does DLSS, which I can't select because I don't have an NVIDIA card. And so yeah, this game is like, well, either use temporal anti-aliasing or turn it off. Which, I don't know. To me, it's a little bit unfortunate because um, I I'm kind of used to playing games where they would usually give me other options like SMAA, the multi sampling, anti-aliasing. I think FXAA is technically speaking is temporal, but you know it's still like to have that option. I definitely don't like the fact that TAA is kind of becoming standardized because you know while I'm not a TAA hater, I will definitely say that some games have better implementation than others. And I don't know. The thing is, like in my experience, I don't hate TAA, but I can definitely notice signs that it's using TAA. Like I say this as someone that sometimes plays games from like the PlayStation. Actually, no, it doesn't even have to be PC games. Sometimes even emulators where I will use like multi-sampling anti-aliasing solutions, and you know the image will look pretty sharp. The aliasing will be non-existent. It's a really fucking sharp image, and sometimes you know I will, for example, play. I think I remember. Um, I kind of remember experiencing something similar when I was playing Kiwami 1, and then when I went to Kiwami 2, and Kiwami 2, well, I don't know if that uses. No, actually, no. I think they do actually give you some option, though the game does have a little bit of dithering, which kind of reminds me of TAA. Not that it's literally TAA, but like it gives me a very similar feeling where I feel like the image, I feel like as I'm jumping to like a different quote unquote generation of graphics, like the image just looks blurry. Okay, maybe Kiwami might not be the best example, but I can definitely tell like some games where they use TAA, I can notice that the image seems to look relatively blurry, and some of the I don't know. I just notice. That's what I'm saying is that I tend to notice. Um, Devil May Cry 5 has TAA, and I'm okay with playing that game. Like I said, you know, it's not the biggest fucking mood killer for me, but sometimes I might consider just disabling it. Now in this game, I'm not gonna disable it because uh, not in every shot, but in some shots when you do disable anti-aliasing, I'm just gonna say not ideal. What I actually do is I just use FSR's native anti-aliasing because at least with FSR I can kind of adjust the sharp. I mean, you can also adjust the sharpness here, to be fair, but I don't know. I appreciate the fact that FSR offers its own sharpening solution, and you know I can kind of tinker around and see if I can find a certain balance where I'm like, okay, I can deal with the added blurriness. It does have frame generation, but I'm not gonna fucking enable that. You probably don't even need frame generation for this game anyway because it's not for a ninth generation game. This isn't really all that particularly difficult to run. A part of me wonders if this game might have initially been meant to be played on a 8th gen console, but maybe in the end they ended up going with a PS5 exclusive since this game came out last year. I don't know. This is me just guessing. The game does not have ray tracing, but I don't think it fucking needs ray tracing anyway. It definitely did upset, or at least I would have imagined that it would not put Nvidia in the best mood because I did see Nvidia releasing a couple of videos showcasing that this game had DLSS, or like the couple of tech demos showing that, but I did notice that they didn't mention ray tracing, and now I know why. It's because the game just does not have it. And yeah, now I do want to check something because um, I saw something in the graphic settings that noted that it recommended like it was like 9 GB of VRAM or something like that. Which okay, there it is. It says expected VRAM 9.06, and the recommended limit, it's just a recommended limit. Not that it actually reaches that. But yeah, like this game does seem to recommend 9 GB of VRAM, so it's a little bit above 8. So honestly, compared to a lot of other games where even at, I mean, I guess to be fair, I am also playing this at 1080p, and so maybe I should test this at like 1440p to see if the VRAM requirements might be a little bit higher there. I mean, it would obviously, but I would be interested in knowing how much it would actually uh, be required for me to have at bare minimum 12 gigabytes of VRAM. Because I remember when I played Resident Evil, the demo, the Resident Evil 4 demo, I think I recall a few instances where it did seem like it was, it would surpass the 8 gigabyte VRAM buffer. And this was even without ray tracing. And so part of me does wonder, because ray tracing is also a setting that often elevates the VRAM requirements. And so, but even, I don't know, it's just something to consider. And there is something else that I kind of wanted to show, which was very weird. It was a very weird thing that I noticed. So if you actually go back to the binaries folder and rewind one more time, go to plugins, go to runtime. It actually has a folder for XCSS, but this game does not have XCSS at all. Like, even if you go to these folders, like, it's empty. So I don't know. I don't know if this only exists as like part of the fucking packaging system of Unreal Engine games, and they didn't really bother to clean this up. Or maybe this game is supposed to have XCSS, they just didn't add to the demo, which, you know, I mean, it does have DLSS, definitely. And so, I don't know, that was kind of a weird thing that I noticed. I don't know. I guess I'll have to wait until the final release of the game to make sure if the game will have XCSS or not. Not that it's like, not that this necessarily benefits me, because I don't use XCSS, but it would definitely benefit people that, you know, might use XCSS, which for a lot of games it actually tends to look better than FSR, even 3.1. And also, if you have an Intel GPU, I think that you can run some like I think XCSS ends up being like AI powered in to some degree, something like that. Ends up unlocking some like AI based upscaling solution when you use their Intel Arc GPUs. So, you know, if you have an Intel GPU, you would also benefit quite a bit from having XCSS. So I hope they do end up adding this feature, because, you know, I think we deserve it. But at least in this demo, I don't see it. I've also noticed that the game. So do you guys remember like the opening mission of the game where, you know, you're fucking just like destruction everywhere. There's like a couple of not a ton of enemies, but there's like a few enemies here and there. Then you have to dodge a couple of debris and stuff like that. It was like a super dynamic fucking mission and shit. I was actually expecting those sequences to be a little bit heavy on the CPU, but it actually, for the most part, it kind of wasn't. Like, like it did seem like it was mostly putting a bigger load on the GPU than the actual CPU, which I thought was interesting. It's actually a good thing. I mean, to be fair, maybe my CPU might not be the best example to benchmark this, but still, like, I think it's a pretty nice thing, because, you know, people can upgrade GPUs, but upgrading CPU is a little bit less frequent for people. And also, I feel like when a game is more GPU bound, there's a bit more flexibility in, you know, changing the graphics settings to achieve the frame rate targets that you want. And so, if the game is mostly GPU bottleneck, that's actually a good thing. And actually, I forgot. I wanted to test the actual the power draw of my GPU when I'm running this game with an uncapped frame rate, and yeah, it reaches like 300 watts. This would be one instance where, for example, let's go to graphics, and then let's fucking go to, no, it's in display. Let's actually enable vertical sync, and then go to graphics, and now let's actually change to quality. And that's interesting. In this instance, it actually is CPU bound. This game does, okay, hang on. Okay, so I go to this area, okay, but if I rewind, it is at the very least targeting the refresh rate of my monitor. Kind of. Yeah, this game doesn't run at a consistent 165 FPS, even when the GPU is no longer the bottleneck. Which, to be fair, I'm not gonna complain too much because, you know, oh man, the game's now looking a bit blurry. Oh, fuck. This little device to open the fucking door at a at a bigger distance, it does look blurrier. So yeah, I definitely do not like using FSR at 1080p at all. I don't like it. Honestly, I just wanted to test this to see if I was able to target 165 FPS. But what if I go with actually just disable this. What if I go with 144? Am I able to get a more consistent nah, I would still lower. Okay, fine. How about 120? It's more consistent. It's a little more consistent. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think 120 would be fine. Anyway, I think that's all I wanted to share in this video. Goodbye.